The crowd roared as Muhammad Ali stepped into the lavish Manhattan penthouse. It wasn't a boxing ring, but the greatest heavyweight champion of all time commanded attention wherever he went. "The champ is here!" someone shouted, as glasses clinked and camera flashes illuminated the room. It was 1977, and Ali was at the height of his fame. His recent victory against Ernie Shavers had solidified his status as the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Boxing legend, civil rights icon, the people's champion. Tonight, however, Muhammad Ali wasn't looking for a fight. He was looking for something else entirely. "Mr. Ali, welcome to my humble gathering," said William Preston, a wealthy real estate mogul known for his extravagant parties that attracted celebrities, politicians, and the social elite of New York City. Preston was a short man with a balding head and an expensive suit that couldn't quite hide his growing midsection. "It's an honor to have the greatest fighter of all time grace us with his presence." Ali smiled, his charismatic presence filling the room. "The honor's all mine, brother. This is some place you got here." His eyes scanned the penthouse. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. But what caught his attention wasn't the decor. It was a group of 5 elegantly dressed women standing by the bar, talking and laughing among themselves. "I see you've noticed our special guests," Preston said, following Ali's gaze. "Fashion models. They're here promoting a new clothing line. Beautiful, aren't they?" Ali nodded, a glint in his eye. "Introduce me." The 5 women turned as Preston and Ali approached. They were a diverse group, different heights, skin tones, hair colors, but all carried themselves with the same confident poise. "Ladies, I believe introductions are unnecessary, but this is Muhammad Ali," Preston said with a flourish. "The one and only," Ali added with his signature smile. "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. The hands can't hit what the eyes can't see." The women exchanged glances, clearly impressed, but maintaining their professional composure. "I'm Sophia," said the tallest of the group, extending her hand. She had striking features, high cheekbones, piercing green eyes, and dark hair that cascaded down her back. "This is Diana, Elena, Vivian, and Rebecca. We're all huge fans, Mr. Ali." Ali took Sophia's hand and bowed slightly. "The pleasure's all mine, beautiful ladies, and please call me Muhammad." For the next hour, Ali charmed the room as only he could. He told stories about his fights with Joe Frazier, his historic rumble in the jungle against George Foreman, and his controversial stance against the Vietnam War. The partygoers hung on his every word, but throughout the evening, his attention kept returning to the 5 models. Finally, after his 3rd glass of champagne, Ali approached Preston again. "Those women," he said, lowering his voice, "they're something special." Preston nodded, a sly smile forming on his lips. "Indeed they are. Are you interested in arranging something?" Ali raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean, brother?" Preston leaned closer. "Well, they're here as paid guests promoting the clothing line, but for the right price, I'm sure arrangements could be made for additional services." Ali's expression changed instantly. The playful glint in his eyes hardened into something colder. "You saying what I think you're saying?" Before Preston could respond, Ali raised his hand. "How much?" Preston's eyes widened. "Excuse me? How much for all 5 of them right now?" Preston stammered. "Well, I don't know exactly. That's not really how—" $10,000, Ali said firmly. "Cash for all 5, right now." The room had grown quieter as nearby guests sensed the tension in the conversation. Preston fidgeted with his tie. "Mr. Ali, I don't think you understand. These women aren't—" "I understand perfectly," Ali interrupted. "Do we have a deal or not?" After a few seconds of silence, Preston nodded slowly. Let me speak with them." As Preston walked away, whispers rippled through the party. Muhammad Ali, trying to buy 5 women. It seemed impossible, outrageous, completely contrary to everything people thought they knew about the champion, who stood for dignity and respect. Before I continue, Armos, if you're watching this on television or mobile, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment letting me know where you're watching my videos from. I want to know how far they're reaching. Thank you. Preston approached the 5 models and spoke in hushed tones. The women's expressions changed from confusion to shock. Sophia, the tall one who had first introduced herself to Ali, glanced over at him with an unreadable expression. After a brief discussion, all 5 women nodded, and Preston returned to Ali. "They've agreed to speak with you privately," Preston said. "There's a study down the hall. You can discuss your arrangement there." Ali nodded, and followed Preston to a wood-paneled study with leather-bound books lining the walls. "The ladies will be with you shortly," Preston said, closing the door behind him. Ali stood alone in the room, looking out the window at the glittering New York skyline. 5 minutes later, the door opened, and the 5 models entered. Their faces were stern, no longer wearing the polite smiles from earlier. Sophia spoke first. "Mr. Ali, we understand you made an offer to Mr. Preston regarding us." Ali turned to face them. "That's right. $10,000. "For what exactly?" Diana asked, her voice cold. "For your time," Ali replied. "For your attention. For your stories." The women exchanged confused glances. "Our stories?" Elena asked. Ali nodded. "I know what Preston implied. I know what you think, but that's not why I'm here." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small notebook. "I'm gathering stories for a book. Stories about how women are treated in different industries. How men like Preston try to commodify and exploit you. How you navigate a world that too often sees you as objects rather than people." The tension in the room began to dissolve, replaced by uncertainty. "You want to interview us?" Rebecca asked. "That's right," Ali said. $10,000 for your honest stories. No names if you don't want, just the truth. I believe it needs to be told." Vivian, who hadn't spoken until now, stepped forward. "Why the act then? Why pretend you wanted to buy us?" Ali's expression grew serious. "Because I needed to know if Preston was who I thought he was, and I needed to see how far he would go, how he really sees you." He paused. "I apologize for the deception. If you're not interested, you can walk out that door right now, no hard feelings." The women looked at each other, a silent communication passing between them. "And if we agree," Sophia asked, "then you get paid for your time and expertise, and maybe, just maybe, we change something together." Ali extended his hand. "So do we have a deal?" What happened next would become the stuff of legend, a story about courage, deception, and an unexpected alliance that would shake the foundations of New York's elite social scene. Sophia stepped forward, her green eyes locked with Ali's. For a moment the room was silent. Then she took his hand and shook it firmly. "We have a deal, Mr. Ali, but not for the money." Ali raised an eyebrow. "Keep your $10,000, Sophia continued. "Instead, we want your platform, your voice. We want the world to hear what happens behind closed doors at parties like this." The other women nodded in agreement. "You have to understand," Diana added, "this isn't just about Preston. This happens everywhere. Hollywood, fashion, business, women being treated like commodities." Ali tucked his notebook back into his jacket. "That's exactly why I'm here. But why turn down the money? You'd be earning every penny." Vivian stepped forward. "Because the moment money changes hands, our story becomes tainted. People will say we were paid to make up lies." Elena nodded. "But if Muhammad Ali tells this story, if you stand beside us as we tell it, people will listen." For the first time that night, Ali seemed genuinely surprised. These women weren't victims waiting to be rescued. They were fighters, just like him, battling in a different kind of ring. "All right then," he said with a nod. "No money, just truth. But I need to know everything, every detail, every name, every incident. This won't be easy. There will be powerful people who want to keep you silent." "We're not afraid," Rebecca said firmly. Ali smiled. "I can see that. So where do we start?" For the next 2 hours in that wood-paneled study, while the party continued without them, the 5 women shared their stories. They spoke about modeling agents who demanded private auditions, photographers who made inappropriate advances, wealthy clients who expected more than just modeling services, and party hosts like Preston who treated them as party favors rather than professionals. Ali listened intently, occasionally asking questions, but mostly letting the women speak. He took notes in his small notebook, his handwriting cramped but precise. As the night wore on, a plan began to form. "Here's what we'll do," Ali said finally. "We'll confront Preston together right now with all his guests as witnesses. We'll expose what he's been doing." The women exchanged uncertain glances. "That's bold," Sophia said carefully. "But what about the consequences? We still need to work in this industry." Ali nodded, understanding their concern. "Then we do it my way, more strategic, less direct confrontation, more calculated exposure." "What exactly are you thinking?" Diana asked. Ali's eyes sparkled with determination. "A press conference 1 week from today. You 5, me, and any other women willing to speak out. We don't just expose Preston, we expose the whole system." The women fell silent, considering the magnitude of what Ali was proposing. "That's a big risk," Elena said finally. "For all of us." "Life's a big risk, sister," Ali replied. but some fights are worth it. After further discussion, they agreed to meet again the following day to solidify their plan. Before leaving the study, Sophia turned to Ali. "One question, Mr. Ali. Why do you care about this? Really?" Ali's expression grew serious. "I have daughters, and I've seen how the world treats women, especially beautiful women, especially women of color. I fought for my dignity in the ring and outside it. This is just another fight for dignity." When they returned to the party, Preston approached them immediately, a nervous smile on his face. "Well, did you come to an arrangement?" Ali placed a hand on Preston's shoulder, squeezing just firmly enough to make the man wince slightly. "We sure did, brother. These ladies are going to be working with me on a special project, very exclusive." Preston's eyes darted between Ali and the women. "Excellent, excellent. May I ask what kind of project?" "You'll find out soon enough," Ali said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Now, if you'll excuse us, we'll be leaving." As Ali and the 5 women made their way toward the exit, whispers followed them. The greatest boxer in the world leaving with 5 models, it seemed to confirm everyone's suspicions about what had transpired in that study. Little did they know that what had actually happened would soon send shockwaves through New York society and beyond. The next morning, Muhammad Ali sat in his hotel suite with his manager, Herbert Muhammad, explaining the situation. "Are you out of your mind?" Herbert exclaimed. "You're the heavyweight champion of the world. You have endorsement deals, a reputation to protect. You can't get involved in some crusade against powerful men in the fashion industry?" Ali remained calm. "I've taken stands before. Against the draft, against racism. This is no different." Herbert paced the room. "It's completely different. This could be seen as entrapment. You offered money to Preston. To expose what he was doing," Ali countered. "To prove what we already suspected. And these women, how do you know they're telling the truth? How do you know this isn't some kind of setup?" Ali's expression hardened. "I know sincerity when I see it, Herbert. These women are fighting a battle every day, just to be treated with basic respect." Herbert sighed, recognizing the familiar determination in Ali's eyes. Once the champion set his mind on something, there was no changing it. "What do you need me to do?" "Set up a press conference, 1 week from today, and get our lawyers ready. This might get messy." Over the next 7 days, Ali met regularly with Sophia and the other women. Together they crafted their strategy. They weren't just going to expose Preston, they were going to expose a culture of exploitation. More women came forward, not just models but actresses, secretaries, waitresses, women from all walks of life who had experienced similar treatment. The day before the press conference, Preston called Ali's hotel room. "What exactly are you planning, Ali?" he demanded, his voice tense. "Just telling some truths, brother," Ali replied calmly. "I have friends, powerful friends. You're making a big mistake." Ali chuckled. "Wouldn't be the first time people told me that. Won't be the last." "I'm warning you." "No, brother, I'm warning you," Ali interrupted. "Tomorrow the world's going to hear some stories. Your name might come up, or it might not. Depends on how I'm feeling." There was silence on the other end of the line. "Unless," Ali continued, "you'd like to make amends. A substantial donation to women's shelters across the city might improve my memory." Another pause. "How substantial?" $100,000. "By morning." Preston scoffed. "That's extortion." "That's justice," Ali corrected. "Your choice, brother. See you tomorrow." The next morning, as Ali prepared for the press conference, Herbert burst into his hotel room waving a check. "He did it! Preston donated $100,000 to the Women's Aid Coalition." Ali smiled. "Good. Now we can focus on the bigger picture." The press conference was held at the Waldorf Astoria. The room was packed with journalists, photographers, and television crews. When Muhammad Ali walked onto the stage, followed by Sophia and 23 other women, a hush fell over the crowd. Ali approached the microphone. "I'm not here today to talk about boxing. I'm here to talk about respect, about dignity, about how we treat our mothers, our sisters, our daughters." For the next hour, Ali and the women took turns speaking. They didn't name Preston directly. They didn't need to. They spoke about a system that enabled powerful men to exploit women, about the culture of silence that protected predators, about the courage it took to speak out. The press conference made headlines across the country. "Ali's new fight. Champion stands with women against exploitation," read the New York Times. "The greatest takes on the powerful in battle for women's dignity," declared the Washington Post. The impact was immediate and far-reaching. Modeling agencies implemented new policies. Party hosts became more cautious. Women felt emboldened to speak out against mistreatment. And though there was backlash, accusations that Ali was seeking publicity, that the women were exaggerating, the movement had begun. 2 weeks after the press conference, Ali received a letter from Sophia. "Dear Muhammad," it read, "what you did wasn't just stand with us. You showed us that our fight matters, that we matter. The world sees you as the greatest because of what you've done in the ring, but we see you as the greatest because of what you do outside it. Thank you for believing us. Thank you for fighting alongside us. This is just the beginning. With gratitude and respect, Sophia." Ali folded the letter and tucked it into his wallet, where he would carry it for years to come. In 1977, Muhammad Ali tried to buy 5 women at a private party. What really happened was that he exposed a culture of exploitation and stood alongside women fighting for their dignity. It wasn't the fight people expected from the greatest, but it might have been one of his most important. And in the decades that followed, whenever Ali was asked about that night, about those women, he would smile and say, "They weren't for sale, never were. But their courage, that was priceless." The story of Muhammad Ali and the 5 models became a turning point in how the fashion industry operated. Sophia went on to establish her own modeling agency, with strict policies protecting the rights and dignity of its models. Diana became a lawyer, specializing in cases of workplace harassment. Eleanor, Vivian, and Rebecca continued their modeling careers, but also became vocal advocates for change within the industry. As for Preston, the real estate mogul never hosted another party. His donations to women's organizations continued, though few knew the real story behind his sudden philanthropy. His influence in New York's social scene gradually diminished, and within a few years, he had relocated to Miami, away from the whispers and knowing glances that followed him in Manhattan. Muhammad Ali continued to support the cause, mentioning it in interviews and using his platform to amplify women's voices. When asked why he had risked his reputation on this particular fight, he would often quote his own words from that press conference. "True greatness isn't measured by what you achieve for yourself, but by what you enable others to achieve." In the spring of 1979, nearly 2 years after that fateful party, Ali was preparing for his fight against Larry Holmes when he received a package. Inside was a simple gold pendant shaped like a butterfly. A note accompanied it. "To remind you that sometimes the greatest strength is in the gentlest touch, you helped us find our sting. SDEVR." Ali wore that pendant in his corner for every remaining fight of his career. The true legacy of what happened that night wasn't just in policy changes or media headlines. It was in the countless women who found the courage to say no, to demand respect, to recognize their own worth, because they had seen that even the most powerful men could be held accountable. In 2004, long after Ali had retired from boxing, and as his battle with Parkinson's disease had quieted his once booming voice, Sophia visited him at his Michigan farm. Now in her 50s, she had become a respected figure in the fashion industry, known for her advocacy as much as her business acumen. They sat together on his porch, watching the sunset. Though Ali's condition limited his speech, his eyes still held the same intensity they had that night in the penthouse study. "You know," Sophia said quietly, "what you did changed everything for us. Not just the 5 of us, but for so many women." Ali smiled and with effort whispered, "No. You were already changing everything. I just helped people notice. If you made it this far and felt every word, don't leave without subscribing and commenting to let me know where you're watching from. If this truly touched you, give back, comment, subscribe. Join this family with me until the next video."